Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu wa-salam ala Sayyid al-Anbiya wal-Mursaleen. Allahumma alimna ma yanfa'una wa anfa'na ma tu'allimuna wa zidna bi fadlika ilman wa ta'aliman innaka ala kulli shay'in qadir. We did this last week, so we are here. So it says, Babul Bikri al-Bikru tusta'maru fi nafsiha. So it says, أخبرنا مالك أخبرنا عبد الله بن الفضل عن نافع بن جبير عن ابن عباس أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال الأيم أحق بنفسها من وليها والبكر تستأمر في نفسها وإذنها صماتها. Okay, so Malik informed us from Abdullah ibn Fadl, from Nafi' ibn Jubair, from Ibn Abbas, that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, the unmarried woman who is not a virgin has more right to herself than her guardian, i.e. her guardian cannot marry her off without her consent. The virgin is consulted concerning herself, i.e. concerning marrying her off, and her consent is her silence. The position of the Jumhur is that the virgin is consulted concerning herself, and her consent is her silence, i.e., it doesn't count. Okay, so let's first of all break a woman into two categories. First of all, she's a girl; she hasn't reached puberty yet. Okay. Secondly, she's reached puberty. Okay. If she has not reached puberty, she has no consent because she hasn't reached puberty. Right? She's considered legally a minor. So this is very important to understand in our minds. The way Singapore, Malaysia, England, America, the way we look at a minor is somebody who's under 18 or under 21 or under 16. That's how we look at a minor. Whereas in Islam, we don't look at a minor like that. A minor is somebody who has not reached puberty. Right? That's a minor. So as a minor, whether she agrees or disagrees, it is meaningless. Right? You know, like today, for example, my son, he got a like a plastic machine gun, okay? And they're all playing with it yesterday and today. They love it. So now my daughter, right? She wants to get a machine gun too, right? She's a little toughie. And then my oldest son, Mikhail, he says, I asked Habiba, and she said that when she gets her one, right, her new one that's coming in that we ordered, then I'm gonna sell her mine for the cost that I bought it for, and I'm gonna take hers, right? And I said, Mikhail, that's not fair because you're gonna sell an old one that you've already played with, and it's made out of plastic, it's probably gonna break in 2 days, right? And you can't do that. She said, no, 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 she agreed to it. I said, Mikhail, even if she agreed to it, right? Why? Because she's a minor, right? So in the Shafi school, in financial issues, we're going to stipulate two things. You have to be no longer a minor, I guess a major. I don't know what the word is in law. Is it called a major? I don't know. But you're no longer a minor. You've reached puberty, and you show that you know how these things work. So here's a 13-year-old boy who's reached puberty, and he's going to buy and sell a house. Nope. You need to know how much a house would cost. You can't just sell it. It's not fair. In marriage, we're not going to do that, but we're going to say you have to reach puberty, right? So here, consent is irrelevant before you reach puberty because your consent doesn't mean anything, right? Can a boy get married before puberty? Yes, he can, through his parents. Could he divorce before puberty? No, he couldn't, right? So he divorces her before he reaches puberty doesn't mean anything, right? You can't do that. And so with a girl who has not reached puberty, the former Dhahib agree that you can marry her off if she is a virgin. If she is a virgin, has not reached puberty, then you can marry her off with or with her consent, without her consent, because her consent doesn't exist, right? So the Hanafis, they would agree, yes, she is 6 years old. She can be married off if she's a virgin. Now, what do you mean if she's a virgin? So, well, what if something happened that shouldn't have happened to her, right? It's possible, right? It's possible. Just like they say, for example, could a minor make ghusl? Yeah, a minor could make ghusl. Why? Well, if something happened to them that shouldn't happen to them, right? Then they're going to have to make ghusl before they pray, right? Um, so that's possible. But normally speaking, so that means she could get married against her will because she doesn't have a consent. Now she reaches puberty. For the Hanafis, they say no. She is, as the hadith mentions, the Hanafis are going to say that they take this hadith exactly as it is. وَالْبِكْرُ تُسْتَأْمَرُ فِي نَفْسِهَا. We're going to ask her, do you want to marry this man? And she says nothing. That's her consent. Her consent is her silence. Okay, and this is also the position of Ibn Mundhir of the Shafi'is and Imam Bukhari, right? They said if she says no, it means no. But if she doesn't say anything, right? Yutasamahu fi, right? It's overlooked, right? So the way they looked at it is that this is what's called istihsan, right? Istihsan is an exception to the rule. She's young, she's shy. She's not going to say yes, I want to marry him, right? She might say no, but she's not going to say yes, I want to marry him, right? She's too shy to say that, right? And that's how it should be, right? That's how it should be. So we have to understand that haya should be there, that it should be so extreme that she wants to get married, but she can't get married, right? If there's a teenage girl who has a need to get married, but it's too awkward, that's not good, right? That's not good. But at the same time, you know, there's no haya if she's like, oh yeah, do you want to marry somebody? Yeah, I've always wanted to marry that guy. Like that's not very nice, right? So it should be somewhere in between. In some cultures, it's too extreme, right? Some cultures too extreme, too much haya, right? When it's too extreme, or total lack of haya when it's too extreme. So the deen is wasat, right, in the middle. So the Hanafis, Imam Bukhari, Ibn Mundhir, they say exactly as the hadith mentions. If she's not silent, then she does not give consent. Like if she rejects, then does not consent, right? For the Jumhur, though, for the Shafis, Hanbalis, and Malikis, they say no. Her consent doesn't happen. There's no consent. So if she explicitly says, no, I do not want to get married, she's 25 years old, but she's a virgin, it doesn't mean anything. She can still be married against her will, right? By her father or by her grandfather, right? But not by, for example, her brother or uncle or something like that. So it says Muhammad says قال محمد بهذا نأخذ وهو قول أبو حنيفة وذات الأبي وغير أبي في ذلك سواء. Why? Right. So he says we adhere to this, and this is the verdict of Abu Hanifa. And the woman with a father or without a father are the same. Why? Because for the man Hanafis, the contractor is the woman. She is the contractor. And it's just normal that her father is the wakil, is the agent for her. Whereas for the Jumhur, she is not a contractor. Her father or guardian is the contractor. Okay, it makes sense? Okay. Okay, so then it says um, أخبرنا مالك أخبرنا قيس بن الربيع الأسدي عن عبد الكريم الجزري عن سعيد المسيب قال رسول الله. So this is mursal, right? سعيد المسيب is a tabi'i in the process. He didn't meet the Prophet. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم تستأذن الأبكار في أنفسهن وذوات الأب وغير الأب, right? So it says virgins are asked about themselves, those with fathers and those without fathers, right? The Qais ibn Rabi al-Asadi, he said, which change mention, the Prophet ﷺ said, virgins are asked about their consent concerning themselves, i.e. their marriage, those that with fathers and those without fathers. It doesn't matter. The fathers cannot force them to get married, right? قال محمد بهذا نأخذ. And I'm not sure if this is in the let's have a look at 1 second. Okay, I didn't record that part there. So here quotes this hadith. This is in the Muwatta of Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi. Okay. After that comes this quote. We're going to see this quote in a second. That's not relevant. The next one here is, it says from Qasim ibn Muhammad, right? This is the grandson of Abu Bakr, Sayyidina Abu Bakr, and Salim ibn Abdullah, the grandson of Sayyidina Umar. Kana yunkihani banatihima. They used to marry off their daughters, al-abkar, who are virgins, ولا يستأمرانهن, and they would not seek their permission. قال مالك, and Malik said ذلك الأمر عندنا في النكاح الأبكار. He says that's how it applies to marrying off virgins. And then he mentions here, Malik said from Qasim Muhammad and Salim ibn Abdullah and Sulaiman ibn Yasar, these are great muftis of Medina, كانوا يقولون في البكر يزوجها أبوها بغير إذنها إن ذلك لازم لها. They used to say that if a virgin girl was married off by her father without her permission, that is binding for her. Okay? And we don't have the quote that we have here. Right? So now I'm going to try and find it. Hadith that we see here from Imam Muhammad, he says, Qala Abu Umar. This is Ibn Abdul Barr, right? 5th century Andalusian scholar. He says, ذكر من ذهب هذا المذهب أيضا ما رواه معمر والأوزاعي وهشام الدستوائي وغيرهم عن يحيى بن أبي كثير عن المجاهر بن إكرمة قال كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يستأمر بناته not بناته يستأمر إذا نكح إذا. So this is all wrong. بناته not بناته بناته إذا أنكحنهن. قال كان يجلس عند خدر مخطوبة. Okay, then he says وذكر ابن أبي شيبة عن حفص ابن غياث عن ابن جريج عن عطاء مرسلا. That's not the hadith we're looking at. ومعمر عن عبد الكريم الجزري عن ابن مسيب. So notice, okay, this hadith here, this is the hadith that we're talking about. Okay, this is the hadith we're talking about. So it goes روى الثوري ومعمر عن عبد الكريم الجزري. Okay, that's the hadith it goes from Sa'id Musayyab. Okay, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. It's not even the same hadith, to be fair. So it's very odd, right? It's very odd that Imam Muhammad should mention this hadith. So this hadith here that we're looking at, I don't think this is actually correct. I think it's actually a mistake. I think it's a mistake. Let me double check. So this hadith, we don't find anywhere else other than in the Muwatta of Imam Muhammad. Okay? This part of the hadith is famous with a slightly different version. We find many people narrating, Sufyan al-Thawri and others narrating from Abdul Karim al-Jazari, from Sa'id al-Musayyib, that he said, the Prophet ﷺ said, not quite same wording here, but he said, istamiru or istadhanu al-abkar, right? So ask virgins if they want to get married or not, right? But my contention is here is the chain goes Malik from Qais ibn Rabi al-Asdi. So if this is only found here Nobody else says that Imam Malik narrates this hadith. When we looked in the Kitab al-Adhkar, Istidhkar by where is it? Right, it was not narrated as the words of um. So here in the Istidhkar of Ibn al-Bar, he quotes all this hadith. He does not say that Imam Malik narrates this hadith, and if it had Imam Malik narrated the hadith, it would be here. It's not. So I don't think it's a hadith of Imam Malik at all. On top of that, we look up this individual who Imam Muhammad claims Imam Malik narrates from, right? And it says Qais ibn Rabi' al-Asdi. And look, we look at him, and he's a Kufan, okay? And he says حدثنا so so Shu'bah, Thawri, Yahya ibn Adam, all these Kufans are narrating from him. It does not mention that Imam Malik narrated from him. So I don't think it's a, I think it's either a mistake from Imam Muhammad, that this is a mistake here, right? This word here is a mistake, right? And then on top of that, other people narrate this hadith in another way. So other people narrate this hadith in a totally different way, right? So this hadith is off. Allahu A'lam. What was the book? So here, this person's great. Okay. Well, he's, okay, this is Qais ibn Rabi'. And then these people here. Right? It doesn't mention anything else here. It doesn't mention any criticism of hadith, but I don't think that hadith is correct at all. Right? So what the muhaqqiq here has done is the muhaqqiq here has just looked at the narrators and said they're all fine. But that's not enough, as we know, right? Adib, you were in the other class, right? We have to compare with the other chain. So we look in other places. Nowhere else does anybody say that Malik narrates this hadith. Nowhere else tells us that Malik narrates from Qais ibn Rabi', right? So I believe this word is a mistake. This hadith is not one of the hadiths of Malik at all. They're not his hadith at all. And I believe there's a mistake either from Imam Muhammad himself, which is unlikely, or from a narrator, Imam Muhammad, right? So what is likely, the issue then is he says we had the na'khudh, right? I don't think he usually does that. Like when he rejects what he's saying, I don't think he usually says that. Like the next one, no, he does do it. That's true. So I believe it's a rebuttal. I believe what's happening is this is a mistake here. He's quoting another source, okay? Maybe Sufyan al-Thawri. Does he narrate from Sufyan al-Thawri? I think he narrates from Sufyan al-Thawri. And it's a different source totally. Wallahu a'lam. Does that make sense, Adib and Ahmed? So basically, this is a mistake.
Yes.
Somebody has made this here, and then it doesn't add up because he doesn't narrate from him, and had Imam Malik narrated this hadith, he would narrate another way. More than that, this hadith is found elsewhere in a different way. So I believe the hadith is ma'lul, wallahu a'lam. Right? And this could be indicative. This could tell us that some of the weakness of Imam Muhammad as a hadith narrator. Wallahu a'lam. So I think it's quite a useful lesson to learn that not every commentator will necessarily point out those things. Does that make sense? Like here, I'm relying on this sheikh. Okay, the sheikh is not necessarily going to point that out. Right? But that's Allahu A'lam. That's what it seems to me. Okay, Allahu A'lam. Anyway, so it says with the chain transmission, the Messenger of Allah said, virgins are asked of their consent concerning themselves, those with fathers and those without fathers. قال محمد بهذا نأخذ باب النكاح بغير ولي. I'm just going to mention that. Okay, so the first issue is, can you get married without your consent? Okay, that's number one. Second one is, can you get can you get married by yourself? So one is marrying someone marrying you off. The other one is, can you get married without a guardian? So it says أخبرنا مالك أخبرنا رجل عن سعيد المسيب قال قال عمر بن الخطاب لا يصلح لامرأة أن تنكح إلا بإذن وليها أو ذي الرأي من أهلها أو السلطان. Okay, so he said, Malik informed us from a man that from Sa'id Musayyib, he said, Umar ibn Khattab said, it is not right for a woman to be married unless with the permission of her guardian or a member of her family of sound judgment or a ruler. So this is very interesting because the Hanafis, they use the fact that a woman can get, they say the woman can get married without a guardian, and they use the fact that Aisha radiallahu anha married off her niece. Okay? She married off her niece, and they say, well, that's not, she's not a wali, is she? Right? An aunt is not a wali. But she is what's it called? It is the ra'i min ahliha, right? Someone of sound. So Aisha radiallahu anha is a member of, is permission of a guardian, a member of the family, right? Or the sultan, which would make sense, right? So your father doesn't want to marry you off, and that's you have a right to get married off. So you go to the guardian, say, you go to the court and say, my father refuses to marry me off, and so I want to get married. Right? قال محمد لا نكاح إلا بولي فإن تشاجرت هي والولي فالسلطان ولي من لا ولي له فأما أبو حنيفة فقال إن وضعت نفسها في كفاءة ولم تقصر في نفسها في صداق فالنكاح جائز ومن آه ومن حجته ومن حجته قول عمر في هذا حديث وذي الرأي من أهلها إنه ليس بولي وقد أجاز نكاحه لأنه إنما أراد ألا تقصر بنفسها فإذا فهي فعلت هي ذلك جاز. قال محمد, there's no marriage without a guardian. This is the position of Imam Muhammad. If she and the guardian have a fallout, that's not really, they don't agree, then the ruler is the guardian of anyone who has no guardian. As for Imam Abu Hanifa, he said, if she places herself in a position of equality, meaning she marries herself to a religious man with lineage, who's for suitable worldly standards, and she does not neglect her dowry, then the marriage is permissible. A part of his argument was the saying of Umar in this hadith, or a member of her family of sound judgment. In that this is not a guardian, and yet the marriage is permissible. The point then is that she does not neglect her dowry. Therefore, if she does that, if she does that, if she does that, I represents herself. Hmm? Then if she does that represents herself, it is permissible. I don't know what that means, but the point is, so basically, Imam Abu Hanifa says it's valid. She can get married without a wali. However, if she doesn't marry a suitable match, then her father has the right to annul the marriage by raising it to court. Um, and the Hanafi school is very dangerous in reality, right? On certain levels. So you can imagine that this happened, right? This happened. My friend mentioned this happening on a school bus in England, right? So there's some 12-year-olds at the back of a school bus, and um, two boys or three boys, one and a girl. So the girl marries one of the boys with the two witnesses, and that's it. So is that a reasonable place where you could imagine harm could happen? Yeah, you could imagine harm could happen, right? And so, it's at the same time, Imam Abu Hanifa's position is very important because how many times do we find parents are not useful? They don't help, right? So she wants to get married, she's 16, and now they're all like, what are you talking about? You're 16. You're not getting married. And she does something she shouldn't do, and she's engaged in something she shouldn't do for a long time because her parents are not cooperative, right? And so we have to have balanced people, right? You have to have balanced people, people who are somewhere in between, right? You're 10 and you want to get married, I don't know, right? Whereas it is a normal and natural thing for people to want to get married, right? And when things that are not normal and natural don't happen, then people become strange and perverted. It's not healthy, right? Just as the Prophet ﷺ told us, like forbade us to do wisal. When you break your fast, you break your fast as soon as you can. Similarly with marriage, you get married as soon as you can, right? As long as she's not ridiculously immature, then you get married as young as you can. As long as he is not ridiculously immature, get married as long as you can, as early as you can. And it shouldn't be something that has to be delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed. It should be something that's facilitated as much as possible. Right? باب الرجل يتزوج المرأة ولا يفرض لها صداقا. Okay, we can stop here inshallah ta'ala. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم سبحان الله وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك